Welcome one and all to the new RPU channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the lore behind the 500 player map as well as the fates of Luxemburg and Rwanda during the war. So what happened to cause a fight between the EU, well, the EUF, which is a military form of the EU, the United States, and Russia, was in 2026. The USS Hampton was sunk just off the coast of Sicily. USS Hampton was a super carrier under the command of Left Admiral Hackett. And what happened was Hackett's wife and child were taken by a terrorist group known as Spectre. Spectre tortured them, so on and so forth, until he agreed to plant a charge in the nuclear reactor on the Hampton, as well as sail the vessel close and inside Italian national waters. Additionally, at the same time, Spectre timed it so that there was a missile facility that was also attacked at the same time. With the panic of the being attacked at the missile facility, as well as the radioactive reaction over here and the explosion and being inside the international waters, the remaining missiles from the site were sent to destroy the USS Hampton, with all hands lost. This did not immediately result in war, as the scale of the conflict was frankly something that neither faction wanted to endeavor. So peace conferences were held in January 2027 between the US, the EU, several representatives from them, and as well as representatives from Russia and China. During the event, the Social Security, what am I thinking? A Secret Service agent was compromised as well, and he shot the Chinese diplomat as well as wounding the Russian one. With this in hand, it was relations between the Russia and the US also started to deteriorate. If that was not bad enough, just shortly after, not too long, several we'll just say soldiers dressed in German uniforms poked into the Russian borders, and with that, war was started. Russia had enough. They blew through Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, and were stopped in Poland after the Battle of Warsaw, where they slaughtered the 28th Army Division. What was left of the division reformed into the 12th Corps in Posen. With Posen, they managed to hold off the assault under a Captain Fish, who is later revealed that his real name is Rommel. That was changed at birth. And thanks to being able to hold the city of Posen, which is in this area, they were unable to push through into the German industrial sectors and effectively take Germany out of the war. And that would have been a major war goal, as Germany is one of the most advanced nations in the EU. Being unable to do so, that war stagnated and basically just went back and forth with Poland. Constant battles going just back and forth throughout the next 30 years. The farthest that the EU ever reached was St. Petersburg, right up here, which is modern-day Petrograd. They never were able to take Moscow. They were able to surround it a couple times, bombard it, but they never took it. And the farthest the Russians ever got was to Poland. That's where they got stuck. And then the opening move of the USA was to invade Spain in the hopes of being able to secure the Strait of Gibraltar and get through, pass into the Mediterranean, destroy the Italian naval defenses, and protect their ally Israel. Ambitious plan. Sounds a little bit like World War I, kind of ambitious, doesn't it? You should also check out The Great War, great channel. But basically, they invaded Spain. And from there, they ran into a bloody massacre. They gotten used to fighting Middle East conflicts and conflicts with nations that were not as advanced. But when they found out and when they attacked Spain, they found the case was not the same. Spain's large automotive industry, as well as support from the EU, Germany, and France, had resulted in them having a highly modern army. Before the war even broke out, when the EOF was in its infancy, they were working on these defenses. And in this case, sadly for the United States, they predicted it to a dime. Now, let's go ahead and go on to the countries. So with Rwanda, what happened was, due to the war, trading was cut off, and they are not a self-sufficient country, so they are dependent on others for trade. And with the world in flames and in conflict, they were not receiving the trades they need. So what the U.S. offered is 500,000 tons of food, cement, and iron, as well as arms, to join the war against the EUF. In desperation for food and supplies, the Rwandan government accepted. And then from there, what they did is they charged into the city of Kabul with 50,000 men under General Bachman. I forget his first name. I do apologize. Indorn Bachman. And yeah, so while they were fighting the Gandans in Kabul, which was a force of 30,000 strong, with one brigade of EUF 8th Mechanized Brigade under the command of a Captain Parker. Which was also primarily composed of Leopard 3 and Challenger 3 tanks. They were able to successfully drive back the Rwandan attack force, which were still using Cold War era technology and basically equipment that should have been in a museum and not on the battlefield. And after the and then at the same time, while the general was fighting in Kabul, the Germans had a paratrooper division, the Fallschirmjäger division, land in the city, or the capital city, and the airport. What they did from there, they were able to secure the airport, as well as 2 C-5s, and requisition them for the EUF, and as well as around 200,000 tons of supplies. They immediately turned around the supplies to the starving populace, and in gratitude, many of them decided to join up and serve in the EUF. Of those that signed up, they were sent to the Eastern Front to avoid conflicts of interest, and in 2036, the Rwandan government officially joined the war on the side of the EUF once more, due to the region being overrun by the EUF and being under their control, as well as pro-sentiment and so on and so forth, due to they're being treated decently. Luxemburg was only able to field one army during the entire war, due to only having a population of about 700,000 at the outbreak. And then by 2040, it was down to a corpse, and by the end of the war, they could only field a single division. This was due to them not being able to replace the men that they were losing in combat. And aside from that, the major male contribution that they had was the fact that they were the field hospital of Europe. That was pretty much their main function. That's what they did. They did not have the population to do much else. They did have advanced medicine. They did have several other things going for them, and that's about right in there. But whenever an officer was wounded, or whenever they needed to do complex procedures that would take months, and they needed to be sure it would be safe, they usually did it in Luxembourg. On top of that, Russians were not able to punch through the anti-air defenses to get to Luxembourg, and the United States didn't want to, bomb a hospital. Fair point. So it survived. It did well, aside from losing generations of its male population, and it healed the wounds of Europe. Once again, thank you for visiting the new channel, and I hope you all have a nice rest of your evening. Remember to like and subscribe, and I look forward to bringing you more lore from the 500, and I hope you all have a nice rest of your evening.